I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend, Dorothy. Dorothy was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. She's married to a Tucsonan and has been so for over 50 years. She retired from the city of Tucson in 2004 after 34 years working in various departments. After retiring, she had various jobs in the hospitality industry and has a passion for the city of Tucson's history. One of those passions has been with the Presidio San Agustin del Tucson Museum. Dorothy wrote a book entitled Presidio San Agustin del Tucson, A View of Early Tucson, which promotes keeping Tucson's history alive. Other books by Dorothy include Tucson's Birthplace Through Pictures, Mural and More in the Historic 4th Avenue District, Downtown Tucson Murals and Public Art, and I Love My Life, Tour Guide, Concierge, and Part-Time Jobs. Okay, Dorothy, let's talk about your background and career. First of all, how did you get your start in the hospitality and tourism industry in Tucson?
Well, hello, Liz. I would love to answer that question. I had many years, as you know, in the city of Tucson, and when I retired, I wanted to do something different. And my husband and I, again, were born here in Tucson, Arizona, and I just have a love for Tucson, a real passion. And I wanted to share that passion with other people who were interested in either finding out about Tucson's history or wanting to live here. So I just followed our dream, and I landed up being in the hospitality industry, and I'm here in Tucson.
Nice, and I'm glad you are. How has the Tucson tourism industry changed since you began your career?
Oh my goodness, it has really changed. When I started in about 2005, 19 years ago, Tucson was a huge tourist spot where we'd have conferences and conventions come in with 500 people, 750 people, 1,000 people having their conferences or conventions here. And then as the years have progressed, belts have tightened. We've had recessions. The pandemic was really awful. And it's just starting in last year, 2023, just starting to come back where we're getting a little bit bigger groups, 250, 500, where Tucson is now becoming a major tourist industry again, or a destination.
Nice. What unique challenges and opportunities have you encountered in your career?
Challenges is keeping up with all the changes that are happening, making sure that you have done your research, that you keep attractions change all the time, that you're meeting your customers' needs before they even know that they need them. Just staying on top of all your research, making sure that you do all your advanced reading and research prior to them showing up so that when they have a question, you've got the answer or where you need to go to get the answer. So there's always challenges.
Nice, because I know you, you like challenges.
I
So how
do.
does
I
this
love challenges and diversity.
yeah, so how do these challenges compare and contrast with the challenges about writing your books?
The challenges of writing my books, the editing, to get your thoughts onto paper is easy. And then to find a really good editor to help get those thoughts in a cohesive manner, that is really, really tough. And each of my books, I've written 5, and I'm working on a 6th book about how to be a local tour guide. Each of those books took at least 2 years from getting my thoughts onto paper to getting them printed. It is not an easy process.
Wow. Well, you have my praise. So let's move
Thanks.
into Tucson's history and culture. What inspired you to write about Tucson's history?
The passion I have for Tucson, because I've been in the industry for so long, and I was a Marriott employee, they would give you like 2/3 off. So my husband and I were able to travel. We did the East Coast like this, and then we did the middle, and then we did the like Highway 1 and came through. So we did all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. And the only thing we really had to pay for was gasoline and food. We've also done some of Europe and Central America, North America, Central America, and South America. And out of all those places, I really want to live here in Tucson. And that's my husband and I just have a real love for this area.
Nice. Yeah, I've grown fond of it myself the past few years. What are some of the most significant historical events that have shaped Tucson's identity?
Let's go back to the 1500s when Spain declared this their land. And then as we move forward, 1821, the Republic of Mexico declared that we are now part of Mexico and not Spain. As we move forward, 1853-54 was the Gaston Purchase, which was significant because the railroad wanted a connection between the Midwest and a southern route to the Pacific coast. So that's what was facilitating the Gaston Purchase. Then we had the automobile coming in the 1920s. There was another big boom in the 1950s when the tuberculosis was spreading throughout the United States, and they sent people here because of respiratory problems. And that's the reason my parents came out. My older brother had asthma, and they came out in 1947. Then we had another big boom in the 1970s when air conditioning became much more affordable. And then in 2000, when the baby boomers started retiring, and they were tired of the cold weather in the East and the high prices on the West Coast. And Tucson was affordable and the weather's good. So that was the last boom, was in the 2000s from baby boomers.
Wow. So through all that, how has Tucson's culture evolved over these years?
That's interesting. When we were Spain, the Spanish integrated with the Native Americans. And then when it became the Republic of Mexico, again, the integration of who is here and the Native Americans. When the railroad came in, March 20th of 1880, that's when the Eastern culture brought racism, and that those Easterners claimed a section of the town, and they moved everyone else out into the particular south part of town. But thank goodness that is all gone, and Tucson is a very blended demographics, so that if you want to get dressed up to go to the opera, you can, or you could be sitting next to someone with cutoffs and a t-shirt, and it's okay. And I can't think of any restaurants in Tucson that you have to wear a tie. And I think that's just fabulous.
Yeah, it is pretty casual place. Nice casual. So what are some of the hidden gems or lesser known aspects of Tucson that you believe visitors should experience?
There are so many to mention, but the ones that come to mind is Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum. It's our #1 attraction, and you could spend days in there. That's on the west side of town, on the west side of the Tucson Mountains. There's Sabino Canyon in our Santa Catalina Mountains that has a tram with a narrative of these flora and fauna and these 200-foot walls. That's a huge draw if you want to learn about the flora and fauna in the area. We have the Pima Air and Space Museum, which is the second largest collection of airplanes, but the largest nonprofit, where there is no government financing in it. Then we have so many different museums. I mean, there's a bunch at the University of Arizona. One of the ones that come to mind is called the Seward mural lab where they show you these crystals and how they melt them and then how they form them. And then it takes like 2 years to make the mirrors that go into the observatories, the telescopes. We have stamp museums. We have the rodeo, which is phenomenal. And then we have two really nice ones at the historic Pima County Courthouse. The visitor center, it's not just a visitor center, it's also a museum. And then next door to that is the University of Arizona Mineral and Gem Museum that is Smithsonian quality. You could spend 6 to 8 hours in there. It's just phenomenal. And above that is a free museum of the 1934 John Dillinger, where he was arraigned, and that courtroom has been restored. There's just, we have neon museums, car museums. There's just so much opportunity here in Tucson to keep you entertained.
Yeah, and then just north of Tucson, we've got the Biosphere and Kitts Peak.
Right. We have the Biosphere, which is the only one in the world. That's right. And we have Kitt Peak. And then we have, it's not a museum, but we have San Javier del Bac that was completed in 1797. That is just breathtaking.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's the mission you're talking about, right?
Right.
Interesting. So what makes Tucson a unique destination for tourists?
Just the diversity
Hmm.
and the opportunities for attractions. We also have, we were named #1 in gastronomy, that we have more family-owned restaurants than franchise restaurants. And the diversity of our cuisine, phenomenal.
Nice. So, do you have a favorite Tucson tour that you'd like to talk about?
There are a lot of favorites, but the ones that I am passionate about are the ones that I give. I have, just in the downtown area, there is over 100 different murals and public structures. So I put together 2 downtown walking tours. One is called Murals and Public Art, and then the other one is called Public Art and Murals. They're both approximately 2 hours long, and I point out some of the more interesting murals and public art in the downtown area. I also have a 4th Avenue tour and a downtown history tour. But other than those tours, I also have them on PowerPoints for clubs and organizations, assisted living. For people who can't get out and walk, I can bring those information or tours to them through a PowerPoint presentation.
Nice. We need to set you up with a GoPro so they can watch it on their virtual reality headsets.
Excellent idea. I love it.
Maybe the future. What do you love most about living in Tucson?
Believe it or not, it's the weather. Because we don't have any surface water, we don't have humidity. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have earthquakes. I mean, it's like we don't never have them. Not, it's a rare occasion. So we don't have tornadoes or earthquakes or snowstorms. We don't have humidity. And even on our worst days, I still think we have better weather than most of the United States. And especially during the summertime, you can get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. You can go out and work for 4 or 5 hours or golf or ride your bike. You come in, you've got air conditioning, and then you can go out like after 7 or 8 o'clock in the sun. We don't have to come back in until like 10 o'clock. And you've got these wonderful long days. And I'll tell you a story about, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. I was walking in the downtown area and I was leaving Mission Gardens, which is where Tucson's birthplace was, with the Native Americans and their agricultural fields. And I was walking to the downtown area and I was complaining, oh my God, it's 25% humidity. And I'm just dying. Well, someone tapped me on the back of the shoulder and said, I was in New York yesterday. It was 98 degrees with 99% humidity. And he said, this is not bad. And that was the last time I ever complained about humidity, because put it in perspective, This is a great place to live. And
Yeah,
I think we have really good weather.
nice. So what changes would you like to see in Tucson's future?
The changes in Tucson, I would love to see our streets improved. It has been many, many years, and because of financial straits, our streets really need to be repaved. Tucson, believe it or not, Tucson is just a hub of people who we have a lot of retired people here in Tucson, and you go to a grocery store or Walmart, you got to park a block away. So there is a lot of traffic on our streets, and I'd really love to see some public. We have a light rail that is really utilized and it's free, and I'd like to see more public transportation utilized and our streets improved.
Great. Okay, let's talk more about some hospitality. What inspired you to write about hospitality and tourism?
When I left the city of Tucson, it was just so mundane, and the hospitality industry is so diverse. I meet people from all over the world, all walks of life. And Tucson has just so much to offer that I guess what really drew me is the passion I have for Tucson, Tucson's history, and the diversity um, that is available to us.
Nice. And what are the key elements of providing excellent hospitality in your experience?
Addressing the customer and their concerns, to think about what they need before they need it. When I started again 19 years ago in 2005, it was drummed into me that you never say no. If there is something you cannot do or help with the customer, you're to provide alternatives or suggestions. You're to fix the problem or fix whatever they need or address their concerns, but you're not to say no. They are the customer, and customer service is what drives this industry.
Excellent. How do you see the future of the tourism industry in Tucson?
If there's no more pandemics and there's no more recessions, Tucson's tourist industry is just going to boom again, just because we have so much to offer. And I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, let's move into the books that you've written and your Tucson's art scene. What inspired you to write books about Tucson's art murals?
My degree is in business management. I can barely draw a stick figure. And I am just in awe that someone can put their thoughts up on a wall and have it look just beautiful and stunning, that they have this gift. So when I was walking in the downtown area, I'm seeing all these beautiful murals, and I'm going, if I'm enjoying these murals, I bet others would. And it took me probably about 4 or 5 months to put my ideas together, walking in the downtown area by myself, with friends, with family, trying to see what murals were impressive, what people would want to see, then getting those thoughts down, and then researching each of these murals, finding out when they were put there, what the title is, who are the artists, what was the artist thinking, and then trying to contact the artist to get their insight. It probably took me 4 or 5 months to put these tours together, and it was not easy, but people are so much enjoying it, and I am too, to see their expressions when they see a beautiful piece of art.
Nice. All right. So, what art murals are your favorites and why?
Oh, there are so many beautiful murals out there, and it is really tough to pick one mural or muralist over another. It would be like saying, I like this brother or sister more than that brother or sister. I am just so in awe of their talents that I love every one of them.
Mm. Well, I've seen paint on a lot of buildings. What makes it art?
That's an excellent question, and a lot of people don't know this answer. There are three types of art out there. There's a muralist who is either commissioned or is sponsored by a nonprofit or a grant. They are called muralists. They have permission. Then there's graffitiists who don't have permission, but can be an extremely competent artist. But again, they don't have permission. And then there are taggers, and they do not have permission, but they are destroying a piece of art by either writing their name on it or their club or organization. Now, I want to bring to your attention, between the muralist, the graffitiist, and the tagger, more information about a graffitiist, and they use spray paint. In Tucson, started in 2021, it was called Rock the Spot. And it was a downtown area where they got 64, they sponsored 64 different graffitiists. They supplied them with the paint cans, the scaffolding, and food, and they gave them 48 hours or 72 hours to get little groups together, and they gave them these huge panels to display their talent with spray cans. So those graffitiists had permission, and when they were done, those became murals.
Interesting.
So those are the difference between being a muralist, a graffitiist, and a tagger.
Oh, thank you. Are there any specific stories or anecdotes that you particularly enjoy sharing in your books?
When I was concierge, it was similar questions day in and day out, and that's why I like being a tour guide. But some of the questions that I would get that really surprised me is asking if they can walk into the desert with flip-flops. I try to bring to their attention, it's kind of rocky out there. You don't have good support system on your heel. And then we have our Sonoran Desert animals out there, and we have cacti. And I had this one lady bring to my attention, well, I've traveled all over Europe in these, and I don't see why I can't go out in the desert. Well, I can't stop you, but I can tell you that in the 19 years that I've been in this business, I've never had an animal bite one of my customers, but I have had at least once a month where a cacti will lodge into their clothing or their skin. And cacti always win because they have barbs on them. They'll think there's a rock and they'll kick them. They attach to their clothing when they go by, because cholla, the digits fall off very easily, and that's how it propagates. They'll be horseback riding and they get too close to a succulent that has needles. Again, it's very consistent to have somebody come back into the concierge, or I have to attend someone who has cacti at least once a month.
Yeah, even the things that you think, oh, this looks so soft and fluffy, don't touch it. Don't touch
And
it.
didn't you have a story about something that happened?
Oh yeah, when I first moved to Tucson, I was shocked because for some reason, I ended up with just a small, I think it was a little La Cholla, ball or something. And it was like, ow, ow. And I went to flip it off thinking that that would be a normal thing that would happen, is you could flip something like that off. And it just rolled around my finger a few times. It was very painful.
Painful. I mean, those barbs, you pull them out and you bleed.
Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, this
Oh, I
is
can't tell you how many people walk into cacti either, or want to touch them because they think they're pretty.
uh-huh. Yeah, and like I said, even those soft looking needles are not. Oh wow.
True.
So how has Tucson's mural scene evolved over the years?
It really evolved over 2019. We were having a tagging problem, a horrific tagging problem, where the city of Tucson had to make a department so that you could call in when you saw tagging. They'd come out and try to address the situation. So they figured, you know what? Why don't we change our way of thinking and start really promoting the mural industry? I mean, it's a win-win situation. You're supporting the arts and you're beautifying the city. And because of tagging, a lot of the cities within the United States and the world, because I get on Facebook and I'm always seeing new murals throughout the world. So it is a definite win-win situation. And I get asked that on my tours. Does Tucson have more murals than some of the other cities? I don't remember. Have I already talked about Peter Peel?
I don't recall.
He is a friend of mine, and his last name is Peel, and he's got a blog that shows that there are way over 1,000 different murals just in Tucson.
So what has been the most rewarding aspect of your career?
Being in the tourist industry again, meeting people from all over the world and watching their eyes. It's kind of like Christmas, a kid during Christmas, to watch everybody's eyes just really appreciate what we have in this area and the diversity and the people. I mean, I am so blessed.
I understand that you had a booth at the Tucson Festival of Books this last year. Can you tell
I,
us a little bit about that, and will you do it again?
I did. I had my 5 books there, and in the independent author tent, very positive um, feedback. And then this year I've got a book on this history of Tucson, large print, geared towards 4th graders where they're learning about Arizona history. And I have submitted that application. Hopefully I'll be in the children's area with this next book.
Nice. All right. Well, Dorothy, thank you for your time. How can anyone contact you?
Liz will be posting my telephone number. You can also buy my books on Amazon or eBay, or you can visit my website, dyaneztours.com. And it's got my information there also.
All right. Well, Dorothy, I'm glad you're part of my life, and thanks for being my friend, and thanks for doing this interview.
Oh, you are such a special person to me. I love you so much.
Love you. Bye.